Hi everyone, my name is Parsa Zachary, and in this podcast, we are going to talk about Rumi's philosophy and worldview and what the meaning of life is from Rumi's point of view. As you might know, Rumi is the best selling poet in America, and his poems have been studied widely by scholars, students, and ordinary people from different cultures, religions, and background. Rumi has made a great influence on spirituality and mysticism. And most books and articles on these topics reference Rumi and his poems. This video focuses on Rumi's philosophy and worldview, and it assumes you have a little knowledge of Rumi and who he is. Now, if you would like to know Rumi or read his biography, there are a plethora of videos and articles on him online. So if you are interested in his biography, just a simple Google search will do the job. Alright, before we start talking about Rumi, I need to give you some sort of an introduction and a philosophical overview on the meaning of life, because that's the main topic that we are going to talk about today. When it comes to the meaning of life, there are two schools of thoughts. In the first school of thought, life has a predetermined meaning, and humans must discover that meaning. In the second school of thought, which is the dominant thinking of today's modern world, life has absolutely no predetermined meaning, and humans must create the meaning of life by themselves. Albert Camus, the French existential philosopher, believed that the meaning of life is the most important question of the philosophy realm. If philosophy only solves this problem of the meaning of life and answers this question, it has fulfilled its mission for humanity. But if philosophy does not have an answer to this, it has not fulfilled its mission for humans, even if it answers all the other questions. Because this topic of the meaning of life is related to the principle of life, right? While other philosophical topics are related to the quantity and quality of life. All right. In philosophy, when we talk about the meaning of life, three questions are always asked. The first question is whether life is worth living or not. Based on practical rationality, if the cost of doing a work is greater than its benefit, then we should simply not do that work, right? Living is also considered a work. So if a person realizes that the cost of living, meaning his pains and misery and sufferings in the world, is greater than its benefit, based on practical logic, he should end his life. Well, fortunately, and I repeat, fortunately, almost all people continue with their lives, and Rumi was certainly no exception. However, it is interesting to investigate for what reasons Rumi believes that life is worth living and its benefits outweighs its pain and misery. Okay, so the first question is whether life is worth living. If we answer yes to that question, that it is worth living, now the second question arises. Now that I have decided to live, what should my mission or goal be in life? This goal should have three characteristics. Firstly, it should be attainable and not impossible. Secondly, it should take precedence over all other goals that are imaginable for me as a human being. Thirdly, in order to achieve that goal, I should not have to take other people's rights from them, cause damage to other people, and cause pain and misery and sufferings in the world. Therefore, the goal that a human determines for himself must have these three characteristics. Lastly, the third question regarding the meaning of life is, what role do human beings play in the natural world? And what role do I, as a human being, play for humanity? Therefore, in order to investigate the meaning of life, we have to answer these three core and fundamental questions. Now, in relation to Rumi, I will specifically address the first two questions. In other words, is life worth living? And if so, what purpose should we pursue in life? Philosophers as well as mystics create an image in their minds to understand the meaning of life. For example, Plato's image of human lives is a prisoner in prison. That might sound a bit dark, but that's actually what his image is. And his goal is to one day free himself from chains. Some other philosophers say that a person in life is like a bird in cage, and his goal is to free himself from the cage and fly in the sky. Other people have said humans in life are like specimens in a big laboratory. Alright, so that's an image that some philosophers give, and they have a rationality behind that image. So, with this introduction in mind, let's see what Rumi's image is of life. And that's the main topic of this video. That's the main thing that we are going to discuss today. Rumi's image of life for humans is an image of a lover in exile. A lover who has been separated from his beloved and is far from him and is unhappy about the separation, as you would be, of course. Now, a human's mission in Rumi's image is to come back home where his beloved is. This image is very apparent in the following poem that I will quote in Farsi. بشنو این نی چون شکایت می کند از جدایی ها حکایت می کند که از نیستان تا مرا ببریده اند در نفیرم مرد و زن نالیده اند سینه خواهم شرح از فراق تا بگویم شرح درد اشتیاق هر کسی کو دور ماند از اصل خویش باز جوید روزگار وصل خویش. I will translate that in English, and he says, listen to this reed, how it complains, telling a tale of separations, saying, ever since I was parted from the reed bed, man and woman have mourned in unison with my lament. I want a bosom torn by severance, that I may unfold the pain of love desire. Everyone who's left far from his source wishes back the time when he was united with it. In every company, I uttered my wailful notes. In every company, I uttered my wailful notes. I consorted with the unhappy and with them that rejoice. Beautiful words from Rumi. We can get a pretty good understanding of Rumi's philosophy and view of life when reading the very beginning of his Masnavi that I just read for you. When he says Kazneyestan ta maro bobridean, saying, or some people say bebridean, saying, ever since I was parted from the reed bed, this question gets asked that who has cut the reed and has separated it from the reed bed? This is a core question in the introduction of Rumi's Masnavi. Who has caused the lover and the beloved to become separated? Here, reed is used as a metaphor for a human who is in love. In other places, in his other poems, Rumi actually answers these questions. In Rumi's mind, the beloved, meaning God, has caused this separation. Alright, if that's the case, is this separation actually for the lover's own good and based on the beloved consideration? Or was this separation because of trickery and deception and the beloved just wanted to get rid of the lover? These are the questions that the mystic will eventually discover the answers during his course of life. Now, let's see based on what evidence Rumi sees human beings as a lover in exile. Because we discussed earlier, that's an image that Rumi has in mind. A lover in exile. Look, Rumi truly feels the pain and sorrow of being away from the beloved. That's the first thing we need to consider when examining Rumi's works. The other thing is, Rumi believes that humans' minds aren't at peace in this world. Humans, they don't feel satisfied, and whatever they achieve or own, they want something else and they want more. Humans are not at ease. They are constantly stressed and anxious and are waiting for an event to happen to put them in peace. And that event is to liberate from exile and return to the beloved. Rumi in exile sees everything as temporary and short-lived. This point is vital. And he does not give much attention to the materialistic things in this world. Let me give you an example, just so that we can have a clear understanding on this. If your, say, kitchen's tap is leaking, you would very quickly want to do something to fix the tap, right? Because it's leaking and you want to use it. But if you are in a motel and the tap is leaking, you probably wouldn't care at all. You will tell yourself, I'll be leaving tomorrow morning anyway, so I'll just leave with it for tonight. Therefore, just like this example, Rumi didn't pay much attention to the materialistic side of this world. By the way, Rumi, who saw himself in an exile, says, I do not understand what the people are saying. And people do not understand what I am saying. Rumi says these people in exile don't understand the happiness of a mystic nor his sorrows. And of course, it goes the other way around. The mystic does not understand people's attachments to the materialistic side of this world. He says من به هر جمعیتی نالان شدم جفت بدحالان و خوشحالان شدم هر کسی از ظن خود شد یار من از درون من نجست اسرار من سر من از ناله من دور نیست لیک چشم و گوش را آن نور نیست. Rumi says, in every company I uttered my wailful notes. I consorted with the unhappy and with them that rejoice. Everyone became my friend from his own opinion. None sought out my secrets from within me. My secret is not far from my plaint, but ear and the eye lack the light, whereby it should be apprehended. That's the translation of the poem that I just recited. Therefore, the mystic who doesn't have anything in common with the people, after a while, he doesn't sort of hang out with them or want to associate himself with them either. Rumi says, people and I are just like oil and water. If you mix oil with water, no matter how much you stir it, they will eventually separate from one another. In Rumi's opinion, a human who feels more distant and separated from this world is a better human being and is getting closer to the truth. In Rumi's mind, people who are attached to the materialistic sides of this world and do not feel like a stranger in this world have not understood the meaning of life. The other thing is, when you are a stranger or new to a city, you would need a guide to show you the ways. We can say Shams Tabrizi was that guide who showed mysticism to Rumi. Now, you might be asking, if the lover will eventually get back to the beloved, why was there a need to get separated from him initially? Well, that's actually a good question. But look, the purpose is the journey. It's the path that has to be taken so that the mystic understands the real meaning of love. Sometimes it's the path itself that gives meaning to the destination and makes it valuable. Let me give you an example. If you tell a mountain climber, why do you bother yourself with climbing mountains? Why do you exhaust yourself walking for hours, even though you can use a gondola lift to easily get to the top? The mountain climber will probably laugh at you and say you haven't understood the philosophy behind mountain climbing. Reaching the top is valuable and enjoyable only when you overcome the struggles and you conquer the mountain with your own legs. And that's the reason that Rumi believes undertaking this journey to reach the beloved, despite being difficult, is necessary. If it wasn't like this, life would have no meaning from Rumi's eyes, and maybe he would have ended his life. Alright, to answer the question, if the purpose is to reach the beloved, why was there a need to get separated from the beloved to begin with? To answer this question, we need to consider another thing. They say, there is a saying, says, until you haven't lost something, you wouldn't see the real value of that thing. If you want to feel how being separated feels like, you have to get away from the person you love for a certain period of time. French people actually have a proverb that says sometimes we lose each other, so in future we can find each other better. So if I go back to the question that I asked about the value and the meaning of life, it seems that Rumi believes that eventually the benefits of life outweigh its cost. In Rumi's eyes, the cost is the time that we are away from the beloved and are in exile. But the benefit of living is that we become mature and understand the real value of the beloved and eventually understand the meaning of love. So, in Rumi's opinion, life is definitely worth living. Alright, the last thing that I want to talk about, which is very important, is the question that some people ask about Rumi's philosophy. These are the people who do not believe in an afterlife and believe that we do not have enough evidence that there is another world after this world. So they say if after death there is a creator, a god, or a beloved, waiting for humans to return from exile is this is just simply poetic imagination and of course a beautiful and a clever myth. So can Rumi's poems and philosophy also be useful to these people as well? My answer is yes, definitely, and I'll explain why. If you don't believe in the supernatural, and if you believe that life has no predetermined meaning, in order not to become a nihilist person, you must create a meaning by yourself. Because the reality is, all of us in life need spirituality. Even if a person does not believe in any religion, he still needs spirituality. Yes, we need science and logic. We also need to have money and a job to live with. I agree with that. But in order to live a balanced and a well-being life, having spirituality is also important. Let's see under these circumstances how Rumi's philosophy can also help those people who do not believe in the supernatural. In the olden days, they used to say this world is created from 4 elements, and these are water, fire, soil, and wind. But Rumi believes that the main element of life is love. Humans feel love from their intuition, but humans themselves should not become an obstacle for love and let this love feeling to flow within them. Loving a woman, loving a man, loving children or loving parents, loving family and friends, loving animals and the nature. All these things are actually one thing. Everything in the natural world is a reflection of Rumi's lost beloved. If that's the case, Rumi himself, meaning the lover, is a display of the beloved. Bear with me on that point. So he has to love himself. When humans live with love, spirituality comes to their lives, and their lives will have a meaning. A mystic wants to take this journey of life, so he will eventually return to his beloved. Despite the fact that the beloved was actually with him during the whole journey. the beloved was actually within him. Maybe a truth that a mystic or all human beings have to discover is that the lover and the beloved are one, and love is the main element of humans' spirituality, and it is the only thing that can give life a meaning. Thank you very much for watching this video. Wishing you all a life full of love, happiness, and spirituality. Take care, everyone, and goodbye.